To me, the attitude I've always had was I want to be professional, I want to try to be creative. If I can't be creative, I want to be professional. If I can't be professional, I want to be creative. Those are the two most important things to me. That makes me a great editor. It makes me a good editor. I'm a good editor. And what's a good editor? Someone who will never give up. I won't give up.
Who is Sam Pollard to you?
I see Sam as a mentor, a friend, a colleague. I've had the privilege of interacting with him in many capacities, and but I didn't start out that. It didn't start out that way. I got introduced to Sam Pollard through his film work, and I'm fortunate now to actually be working alongside him.
Personally, to me, Sam Pollard is the guy that stands by my door waiting for the elevator and sings. He has a beautiful voice and he loves the old standards. And when I'm lucky, he's waiting for an elevator and he stops in my door and sings a bit of a song.
Sam Pollard to me is an inspiration and a role model in the sense that he's a very generous person. And for that reason, I'm here with you and, answering any questions you may have.
My name is Sam Pollard. I am a professor at New York University. I've been teaching for over 25 years. I'm also a producer, director, editor. I started in the film business many, many years ago, back in 1972 when I was 22 years old. I was invited to be in a film and television workshop at the public television station in New York City, WNET. And we would go out on location on the weekends and we'd shoot short films. And we would each be assigned a particular position. And on the first short film that we did in that particular program, I was the assistant camera person, and they also assigned me to be the editor. And when I edited that first little piece at the age of 22, I became ecstatic over the idea of creating images and telling stories through editing.
The way I skate is with one of the things they do is like go up in the air and spin and do triple turns and stuff. But when they land, it's like they don't land. They just glide on the ice. And Sam's editing, if you will, reminds me of that. It's like so smooth.
So in the summer of '72, I got a call from a production manager who was on a low-budget feature film. The title was called Ganja and Hess. My duties every day were to splice the outtakes together, sweep the edit room, get tea for Mr. Konevsky, and it was like a baptism for me. And at the end of that 6-month job, he took me out to lunch, and he says to me, "You're a really nice young man, Sam. I don't think you got a lot of talent, but you're a nice guy. And I'm doing a documentary," which I knew what they were, but I was more interested. I had this idea I wanted to be a feature film editor. But he said he was doing this documentary, and he wanted me to be, he said I wasn't good enough to be an assistant editor. He wanted me to be the apprentice assistant. And I began working for him on this documentary, and I became his assistant editor for 3 years. And he would make me sit behind him, and he would explain to me why he made all his cuts. When to cut from a master shot to a medium shot, when to cut from a medium shot to a close-up, what part of an interview to use, when to try to figure out how to tell a story through interviews, when to use archival footage, how to use footage that's shot verite. He really, really drummed this all into me. Then he'd give me little scenes to edit that he would normally rip apart and make me re-edit. And I learned that it wasn't always about the first edit. It was about re-editing and re-editing and re-editing, and really being dedicated to the idea that by re-editing, you could make a film come to life and come together.
Well, one of my first jobs was as a PA for him, and he scared the crap out of me because he just sat there not saying anything, and I'm like, wow, am I really messing up? But Then I got hired here, and I ran into Sam again, and he was like, "Oh, you're that guy." So, and then after that, just his work ethic alone is just mind-boggling. He would teach, and then get on a plane and go to a shoot, and then be back in time for his next class. It's kind of incredible. So it's not even just the work, just the love of cinema itself is very inspirational about Sam. Like he just loves movies, and he shares that love with all his students, and those of us who have passed by. So yeah.
What was the project you paid for?
It was called "I'll Make Me a World." It was the history of Black art in America.
The three most important people in my career was Victor Konevsky, who taught me how to edit, George Bowers, who's African American, who supported me, and then he introduced me to an African American documentary filmmaker named St. Clair Bourne, and he was ferocious about telling our stories, telling the stories of black people. So George recommended me to him to cut this documentary about Chicago blues musicians in New York. So I came back from California, and I worked with worked with Saint for 6 months on this film, and we really became very tight. And he was the one, of all these three men, he was the one who said to me time and time and time and time again that as an African American filmmaker, as an African American editor, we have to tell our stories, and you should be mindful of that. Because up to that point, I always would say, when someone said, do you want to be an editor? How do you want to be defined? I always would say, I don't want to be a black editor, I just want to be an editor. But after I met Saint, you asked me after that experience, I said, I'm a black editor, I'm an African American editor, because that was important to me. And from that point on, I was doing more films, both as an editor and then later as a producer, to telling our stories. 1988, Spike hired me to edit Mo Better Blues. And I was living in Boston. I moved back from Boston. I was working on Eyes on the Prize. I moved back to New York after Spike hired me. And at the same time, a colleague of mine hired me to be an adjunct professor at the grad film department at Columbia University. And then at the same time, there was a colleague of mine who's associate professor here at NYU, Jim Brown, who I'd been editing for since the late 80s. And he would have me come in and do guest lectures with his class at NYU. And then in 1993, he told me that they were having an opening. There was an opening for a visiting professor. So I applied, and they hired me. And at the end of the 1 year, the dean of Tisch, Mary Schmidt Campbell, I had a meeting with her, and she offered me a full-time job as an assistant professor on the tenure track. And I talked it over with my wife. I was trying to figure out, could I teach, could I work at the same time? And I was only 44 years old, and I said, shit, yeah, I could do it.
How does your teaching affect your art?
Wonderfully. The teaching, in many ways, for me, the teaching and watching students, listening to students talk about film, watching their films that they do, watching their cuts, I find it inspiring. I can't tell you how many times there's something I saw in one of my students' films that I tried in one of my films. Something editorially, something in terms of how they shot an interview, something how they shot some verite, that I've tried it. I find it's been a lifesaver for me. It's made me even more in love with this profession. Some people get kind of burnt out. They kind of stop having the same kind of, love for the work after a certain number of years. Now, I've been doing this, I'm 72, so I've been doing this 50 years. I still love it.
As you know, Sam is retiring soon. So if you could say one thing to him before he leaves NYU, what would it be?
Sam, please come back and visit often, and come back and sing at my door.
Sam, I know that this is the end of your career here at Tisch, but I hope it's still the early part of your career in filmmaking?
I teach a Saturday class with high school students, future filmmakers workshop, and most of the students in the tri-state area and now remotely around the country wouldn't normally have access to film equipment and film camera and NYU, frankly. But for the past several years, even before I got involved, Sam comes every single year and talks to those students. And he doesn't have to. He's a busy man, and it's appreciated. So I would say to Sam, thank you. Thank you for being a mentor. Thank you for being a colleague. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for always looking out for the students, the young people at Future Filmmakers.
Thank you for the many, many, many years. Thank you for the many, many, many years that you came to the Future Filmmakers Workshop to give your guest lecture on you, and especially you and life, even though we would bring you in to speak on the documentary as the subject, but it always veered off into just life.
Don't go. That's what I would be like, not yet, at least one more year, but I get it, you know. To keep up this pace is mind-boggling. The fact that he was able to do it for as long as he's been doing it is amazing. So I would just say thank you, and for everything. You know, he gave us a lot of advice, and he was very, very, very supportive of a lot of the young filmmakers that came his way. So I'm not sure how that's going to continue, but I hope in some small ways he can continue that part of his journey, even if it's not here.
Sam has been very much a part of my life for the last 30 years, and we talk probably every week or two. We haven't seen each other at NYU very much because of the pandemic. We may work on a project together in the future. We're the same age, and we like a lot of the same things. For a while, we lived in the same building. I'm not going to say goodbye to Sam because we've already talked about seeing each other after he's left New York. And he's so much of a part of my life that I can't imagine him not being in it in some way. So I'm not going to say goodbye. I'll see you later, Sam.
Listen, I got so many films that I've done, there's got to be some that fell through the cracks, and they have. Sometimes story-wise, sometimes structurally, sometimes emotionally, I wasn't connected to them. You know, but it's the thing to remember. Spike says this, and I love what Spike always said. It was about creating a body of work. You know, I wanted to create a body of work, and I have. Some of it you'll remember, some of it you'll say, "Whew," you know. So there's different reasons for me to say there's certain films that I like and certain films I love. You know, it's complicated.
So when people look back at your body of work, is there anything that you want them to take away from it?
Yeah. When people look back at the body of work, I tried. I always tried.